Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Brian Pash.
Welcome to beautiful Palm Beach, Florida. How's the weather out there? Did you enjoy the hotel, those of you who came in here a day early? Boy, okay, we can just do a days in next time if that's what you want. I always learned if you're going to get decision makers out of the dealership, the destination has to be pretty amazing. And it's also an opportunity for some of you who were able to bring out your spouses. It is a nice time of refreshment outside the dealership, and we have a great lineup to honor your time out of the dealership. Here's today's agenda. After my opening statements for today, 1:30, we're going to do our first panel. Then we're going to break right into 4 different workshops. We're going to come back in for 2 more keynotes, and then go right into our cocktail reception. As we always do, we want you to get a chance to meet with all the sponsors. So each one of the dealership employees that are here, you have your little bingo card. Each of our sponsors, would you please visit their booth? Not just give me a sticker or goodbye, but learn a little bit about what they're doing, what they're trying to solve, and get your sticker. And then each day, starting with tomorrow morning, we'll give out $1,000, and we'll do that again for the next 2 days. We do recognize that some of you on your first day out of the dealership, you go a little crazy tonight. So breakfast is at 8. I always remind people that we pay for all these meals in advance, and I hate to see food wasted, so please set your alarm and be on time for breakfast. That will be starting tomorrow at 8. This weekend is a marathon for us because Friday night, the members of the Automotive CXO Network came to town, and these are just some of the automotive groups that are part of the CXO network. These are groups with 10 or more stores. If you're here and you're part of a dealer group that has 10 or more stores, you may want to consider joining the CXO network. It's not a 20 group. 20 groups have a very important purpose. This CXO network is to discuss innovation, to talk about things that no one else is talking about, and to help larger problems to be solved that are unique to larger dealer groups. So I want to thank our 3 sponsors for this past CXO weekend. We come in Friday night, we have a great dinner. We meet from 7 a.m. to 4:45 yesterday, and then we go out to dinner again. And you wouldn't want to be paying those bar bills. That's the only thing I want to say. And we had a great time. So it is a 5-day busy time for us, and we've just finished celebrating 2 years of having the CXO network in place, and we're really excited about the growth. I always like to talk about how I see the industry. Sometimes people have said who have come to the AWA Awards, which we canceled this year. One of the favorite parts of that ceremony is a little bit of my viewpoint on what's changing in the industry. I see dozens and dozens of products each year. I'm a student of the business, continually learning, 18 years later, still loving every day, and it's a privilege to be in the business, to see new companies come, help support new technologies, new initiatives like the Automotive Standards Council, like the CXO Network, to be creative. Also, I'm really proud about the new educational events that are coming into the marketplace. Our dealer industry needs more events like this where people can learn, because if you think about 18,000 dealers, if you said 5 people at least from every dealership should be out at least once a year at a conference, that's 100,000 people. Outside of NADA, which is hard to know how many real dealers actually attend, say 20,000. That leaves 80,000 people kind of without the opportunity to network with their peers. And so that's why these conferences and others in the industry, I really encourage you to invest in your people, set a budget for education, and we really appreciate you being here. One of the themes of this year is elevating the customer experience, and we're going to record this opening session and push it out tomorrow to share some of our thoughts, to kick out our conference to those who can't come. But it is absolutely the time to elevate the customer experience, to reimagine what automotive retail looks like, especially with some of the headwinds that are there, with the kind of turn in sentiment on EVs, maybe consumers and dealers pushing back from unrealistic EV expectations, manufacturers pulling back from unrealistic expansion goals for EV. We're at a very interesting time. Incentives are back. And I think from a marketing perspective, and I wrote about this recently and talked about it, is that I don't think consumers are aware that incentives are back. I'm not sure if consumers are aware that some of the EV models can become much more affordable with rebates, incentive, and cash. I think people are a little shell-shocked with the increased lending rates, but yet I'm seeing more OEMs with 0% financing. I mean, it's really a mixed bag, and it's time for us to kind of get back to marketing, getting back to communicating our value proposition and helping consumers find the right mobility needs for their family. One of the things that hallmarked this year, 2023, was the discussion of CDPs. And I believe firmly, especially after our conversations yesterday at the Automotive CXO Summit, is the larger dealer groups are all involved in, actively deciding on, or researching the third pillar of automotive retail, which is a customer data platform. DMS, our accounting system, CRM, our sales pursuit system, but where are we really cultivating, managing, updating, activating our customer data? I published this report, and it was the single most downloaded research report that I've done over the last 10 years, and it's just the start. The report was somewhat polarizing. Some people commented that CDPs are the next shiny object, backed up by digital retailing in previous years. But I think the people who are casting shade on CDPs have no clear understanding of how dirty our customer data is, how few people we're actually communicating with, because every single day the data in that DMS ages and becomes less effective. If you haven't read this research report, it was written by someone who's an amazing author, and you could just scan that QR code and download that. We also have a few printed versions. If some of you don't like PDF, you could ask Dawn for that. When we talk about customer data platforms, and again, we are going to see a heavy focus on this in 2024, it really starts with data. First thing, data access. One of the biggest challenges that we have today is how do we get to the data that we own? And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but it is amazing the hoops that we have to go through in automotive to get access to our own data. Outside of automotive, people are very quickly standing up CDPs because the connectivity to retail commerce platforms, CRMs, marketing automation, email is turnkey. Managing data is still a challenge, but accessing the data is not. And then data management. I think that there will be a whole new career path, especially in the larger dealer groups, of somebody whose sole responsibility is in data management. And there are really smart marketing people in this room, but very few are data managers. I would say that it's probably less than 1% of all marketing professionals in this room have any routine, disciplined training on data management. Audience development. This is going to be another skill. We've not had the levers to create audiences at a granular level to solve business problems. Here's what we've done. Hey, just download your CRM and DMS data and hand it in a CSV file to someone, and we'll do Google Match and Facebook Match. And, oh, if that isn't good, just hire a data party. They'll append some additional emails and phone numbers and match that up. That's your customer audience, as if everyone was in the same point in their life cycle, if everyone was the same. The ability to know different demographic, psychographic, financial income, transaction frequency, the preferred communication channel is going to create a whole new skill set of people on how to create audiences to solve business problems. Those of you who are not familiar with audience, in a very rudimentary way, a marketing list or a communication list. How do we load up our texting platform? How do we load up campaigns for the BDC? How do we decide whether it's email, direct mail, or a call to get the most out of our customer database? And last, benchmarking. This is the next area I am hoping to accomplish next year, not only a follow-up to the CDP report, but there is no independent third-party report that I can find that tells me Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, Urban Science, who has the best data for different use cases. Anybody interested in getting that type of research? It's like, hey, I need to know if these customers still own the vehicles. Who has the best data for current vehicle ownership? Who has the best phone numbers that are really validated as being the mobile number for that customer? Who has the best active email addresses? Who's the most effective in building household vehicle profiles outside of the vehicles that the dealer sold? When we talk with data access, this is the piece that is the most frustrating today. If you're not familiar with something called an application program interface, the idea here is that there is some database of information. You could think of it as your DMS or your CRM that's front-loaded with a web server, and applications or programs are supposed to be able to come in and connect into that data seamlessly. But the truth is, partial data access doesn't work. I am not going to call out specific vendors. That's not the point here. But there are some bullshit APIs that are published that purposely block certain information except for native applications. Stupid things like, oh, you can have access to the CRM, but no notes. You can't pull in those notes. Really? Why would you do that? You can have an API, but you can't write data in without creating duplicate records. Or, God forbid, you try to get multiple requests during the day. Sorry, you can't do that. It might crash our web server. There's a movement happening in correlation to the next generation of dealership owners. Maybe it's the sons and daughters that grew up with data or technology. Maybe it's outside influences. Maybe it's a combination of lawyers realizing how screwed up the automotive ecosystem is. But there are new laws. Probably one of the most interesting laws to read is the Arizona dealer law, where they define things like the dealer's data vendor and an authorized integrator. And how about this word in the law? Cyber ransom. In Arizona, if any vendor limits the dealer's ability to access their own data at a reasonable cost or share their data with any vendor that the dealer chooses, that is cyber ransom. More and more laws are being passed. You may want to scan this. This is a page that the team at 4 Eyes put out. It's not just about data access. You know there's over maybe 6 or 8 states now that have passed laws that the OEMs cannot force a dealer to use a specific digital retailing platform. This is important. If a dealer group is trying to create a brand experience in a local market and they choose this is their retail operating system, their digital retailing tool, in the past they've been blocked because this OEM wants this and this OEM wants this. There's a growing number of states where the state associations have passed laws that it's illegal for the OEM to force a digital retailing system onto a dealer. Why is this important? The only way we're going to elevate the customer experience is if we have full access to our data, that we can share it with the data partners that add the most value, that we can append it freely, bidirectionally, to connect more often with the customers who allow us to be in business. I'll give you one recent example that was somewhat shocking. Everyone in this room, I'm not going to ask you if you email your customers. Some of you do monthly customer emails. For the general managers or owner in this room, when was the last time you got an email health score report that showed you how many of those email addresses are now considered spam traps, bot traps, undeliverable, suspicious, on the do not contact list? How many of you have seen this report? I started asking around yesterday at the CXO network. I said, how many people have seen this report? It was like crickets. Even if you knew that this report existed, you might find out that 10 or 15% of the people you think you're emailing are never being emailed because the email provider won't send it. So here's a simple question. How many of you have a process each month when you try to email your customers and those email addresses are blocked, flagged, or suspicious? Do you have a process to contact a customer and get their new email? You know what I found out yesterday? The answer was 0 for a group of people that represented over 800 rooftops. 0. When are we going to realize that our customer data, we talk about, oh, loyalty is at an all-time low. Well, if you don't care that every month more and more of your customers are degrading out of your contact cycle because they've moved, they've changed their email address, maybe even changed their phone. That's where this idea of benchmarking. There is an amazing group of companies, public companies, that are out there offering information who can help you find out, do these 50,000 customers in my DMS still own that car? But who's the best at different use cases? There's no independent testing of this, and that's one of the things I hope to do next year. Why is this important? For one of my dealer clients, we took their DMS and sent it out. And 48% of the people in the DMS no longer own the car that the DMS had. Let's pause for a minute. If you're using vendors who charge you for each piece of mail, do you think they're going to mail 50,000 or 25,000 if they knew the dealer wouldn't know how dirty their data was? How many times is that happening? How many times are your vendors just dumping data from the DMS, matching up, assuming that the people in the DMS still own the car? How many emails are being sent out? How many direct mail pieces are? Is this a bigger problem than any of us really imagine? And here's the reason. Because without a CDP project, you would never discover how bad our data is. So look forward to some more controversy as I continually write about who's coming to market to really help dealers, not just activate their data, but to keep it clean, keep it updated. So each day, when a phone number can't be dialed, an email is rejected or suspicious, when a piece of mail comes back from the post office as change of address, that there's automated processes in place to keep your customer in contact with your dealership. Out of all the things we talked about yesterday, data hygiene was one of the things that the members said we have to get serious about. The second thing that blew their mind was really how poor our current sales processes are. If I asked you to do a test, would you do it with me? If I asked you to do a test, would you do it? That was a point where you make me feel good and say, yes, Brian, we would do anything you asked us to do. For the dealers in the room, if you work at a dealership, please take out your phone. Take out your phone. Go to, or if you have your laptop, pick any store in your dealership, any store, and submit a lead. Now, just make up a name. Don't make up an obvious, like, test lead or something like that. Just make up a name, but use your mobile number, and just so it doesn't turn into like a phone singing party, turn your ringer off. I want you to quickly submit a lead, and I want you to just benchmark right now when you submit that lead what time it is. And then I want you to text me how many minutes it took for you to get a call back, and was your dealership's name displayed? For most of you, what's going to happen, it's going to be unknown or unknown caller. Some of you might even say potential spam. Some of you may say telemarketer. But I'm going to really be interested how many people, if you are Smart Toyota, that phone says Smart Toyota, or that's Brandon Honda. Do it right now. Why? Of adults in the United States, only 19, U.S. adults, only 19% will pick up the phone if they don't recognize the caller. 19%. Think about it. This business was built on basically chase and follow, right? Don't serve the customer around the website. God forbid. Just make them fill out a form and then chase them. And what we've been told is the best way to get someone in is to get to them first. In fact, all research says that the dealer who established the first conversation with the consumer first has a 50% better chance of having that person come in to the dealership and buy from them. What we're talking about is something new. The question is, if you are showing up on the right, which 95% of the people in this room will be the person on the right, or you can decide, I'd rather be the person on the left. We asked someone in the CXO network yesterday, did they know their answer rate on first attempts? Have you ever looked at the answer rate of your first attempts? And they said it's about 10%. You make 10 calls, someone will pick up. That's a tremendous amount of resource waste. What is available today? 2 products. One is called Caller Name Optimization. Caller Name Optimization, or another acronym CNO, is the ability to register your outbound lines with all mobile carriers. And if your behavior on the phone triggers a spam or telemarketer or a poor quality alert, it's monitored 24/7, it's resolved, and you get a warning instead of you not knowing it. It is a managed service. The second is branded call display. If you turned on branded call display today, you made that decision, in about 10 days, your phone numbers would come through as, could be Brandon Honda Service or Brandon Brandon Honda Sales. Next year, with the next iOS update and the Android update and some carrier upgrades, you're going to be able to also have, instead of a face of your friend, the actual logo of the dealership. And in fact, it's going to be even better because you can assign lines to different purposes and push a message into the caller's phone. Branded call display with context will absolutely change the game. If I submit a lead as a consumer on CarGurus website and 10 minutes later, Brandon Honda calls and it's like, call regarding CarGurus vehicle, what do you think will happen? Will that answer rate increase? Now, I'm throwing out a challenge to the team at DriveCentric, the team at eLead, the team at Vin Solutions, the team at Reynolds Focus. We have an opportunity now that you know that this product exists. Today, and this is a DriveCentric screen, my brother Glenn shared this with me, there is currently a drop-down of what number you want the outbound call to be made from. Imagine a future state where that's possible. Whereas even the CRM, if the lead came in from AutoTrader, it defaults to a line that says AutoTrader vehicle. Or if the line came in from your Consumer Direct Buying Center site, it could be about your trade valuation. Branded call display. I'm happy to be able to pilot the first 100 or so dealers and to document the success of this program in conjunction with TransUnion. If your dealership would like to transform your pickup rates, doubling, maybe even tripling your answer rates, what would that do to your competitive edge getting to the consumer before your competitor? You can scan that QR code, and I only need two pieces of information: how many outbound lines you have and how many outbound calls a month. And then those two pieces of information will give you the ability to see the cost of that service. One other thing that's going to be fun this tomorrow afternoon, Gray Scott, there's Gray in the back, and he's going to be moderating a panel. How many marketplace websites do you need? I want to let you know that we've had over 275 automotive professionals, managers, marketing managers take this survey. If you haven't taken the survey, you could just scan this QR code just for dealership managers, owners, marketing directors, people who make decisions on this. And then tomorrow, we're going to be having a really vibrant discussion, and you will see the results of the survey. Just a couple quick things. This is a little preliminary. We'll get some more results later. But very few stores had decided that next year they're going to increase their spending on third-party classified. But there was also a thing about behavior, and I just wanted to share this with you, just so Gray has more time tomorrow to talk about it, is we asked this question: do you book your airfare directly with a carrier? And you see, if you just looked at this question, about 65% said yes, they book things directly with the airline. And if you looked at that, you would say, well, what about Google Flights, and what about, Expedia and Travelocity and Hotels.com and all these others? But this was interesting. But if you do book online, do you go to a marketplace website first to check out pricing? I know that's what I do. If I'm going to a city I'm not familiar with, I have status on United and Delta and American because I spend a lot of time in the air. So I'm going to find the carrier that has the shortest route, and I'll just figure that out and then go book it directly. But this was an interesting question about, would you forfeit a marketplace website if you were trying to sell your house? And the question was just random. If you could save $1,000, would you trust the realtor who said they had a great reputation in town and knew all the buyers in the area? Would you trust them to sell your house at the same price that you could or would you still want to list it on Zillow? We're going to have an active conversation tomorrow. One last note. We have some great companies, FullPath, Fuse, UVI, who have some of the most amazing development teams over in Israel, and it's been brutal to hear the stories of everything that's been going on. So, I had an idea. Take out your phone. Set a time to pray. On October 7th, there was an attack. I'm suggesting you set your phone for 10:07 every day. I didn't know you could set it for every day of the week, but I thought, unfortunately for the speaker at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, 10:07, would you take a moment to pray? Pray for our colleagues, the hostages, for the people who are hurting. It's a very difficult time to watch, especially as we see the impact of our local community. So consider setting your alarm for 10:07. On a more exciting note, we have a new award that we're giving out, voting tomorrow. The MRX Award for dealers and dealer groups that have been working to elevate the customer experience. We have 4 finalists. 2 of them are going to win a big prize. We will be showing those 4 videos tomorrow morning. Those of you who would like a little bit more time to watch those videos, you can watch them tonight in your room or early in the morning. We will be playing them tomorrow morning during breakfast. Each of the participants asked us to consider, is there a solution to elevating the customer experience? Something worthwhile of your vote. So tomorrow we will be voting all day, and then we'll be announcing the winners. And I think the prizes are pretty good. I think each gets $3,000 or something like that. So we're really excited. Something good. And please mark your calendar already for June 2, 3, and 4. We have a special ticket price for DMSC this year, and also a 2-for-1 access code. So if you please would mark your calendar, we'll be back in Austin, Texas. And keep in touch with all the latest strategies, of course, not only at this conference, but on my LinkedIn newsletter. We are doing a great job of growing that list. Thousands and thousands of automotive professionals get that newsletter each week.